we'll get the meeting started.
Okay, the meeting is ready.
Great, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Special Finance and Claims Committee meeting of the Common Council for today, Thursday, December 7th, 2023, starting at 6:01 p.m. The agenda was sent out electronically prior to the meeting, and we will move to item 2, which is the roll call. Please acknowledge for the recording that you are here, starting with Council Member Jim Freya.
Here.
Council Member Johan Lopez.
Here.
Council Member Melissa Murray.
Here.
Council Member Doug Sutton.
Present.
Thank you. Council Member Heather Dunn.
Here.
Thank you. And myself, Greg Burnett. We have a quorum for this special meeting for tonight. Moving on to item 3 on the agenda, which is public participation. Titsumate, do we have any attendees that have their hand raised that wish to speak?
See any hand raised?
Okay, we'll give them one more opportunity. If anyone who is an attendee wishes to speak, please raise your hand electronically, and we will acknowledge you so that you can share your message.
There is a phone call-in listener, but I do not see a hand.
Okay, no problem. So at this time, we will close public participation and move on to item 4 through 9 on the agenda. Also, we have on the call with us, we have Alan Lowe from Building Management and our Chief Financial Officer, and along with Joanne Oquello, who is also from Building Management, and our Chief Financial Officer, Henry Dakowitz. Before we move into these 6 items, Alan, maybe it would be helpful if you can give a brief overview of these 6 items and the HVAC grant application that we're working on. And then I would ask Mr. Dakowitz to just spend a moment to just talk about the special capital appropriation so that those members of the Finance Committee that are new to the committee have an understanding as to what we're approving as it relates to a special capital appropriation. So over to you, Alan.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Excuse me. I'm Alan Lowe from Department of Building Management, and tonight also with me is Joanne. She's somewhat not, I wouldn't call her new anymore. She's been here 9 months, so she's seasoned now. In any event, the request in front of you tonight, it's separate 6 projects that the city is looking at to submit to the state for reimbursement. All of these are school construction projects. All city school construction projects are submitted to the state for reimbursement, but not all projects are eligible. The state do not reimburse the city for items such as replacing a boiler or replacing rooftop units, things like that, because they can say there's replacement and operation and things like that. So it's not eligible. The item that typically will be eligible will be renovation of the building, adding education program addition to the building. Roofing is, I think, window replacement maybe, and environmental remediation. Stuff like that. But then a lot of times that repair replacement, I'm not eligible. Last year, the state came out with a program to provide HVAC. HVAC means heating, air conditioning, ventilation, HV, no, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. The IAQ is indoor air quality. So that is the grant that they issue. So provides community with some subsidy to handle those projects whereby typically it wouldn't get reimbursement. This program came out last year. The state's requirement in terms of application-wise, it's very complicated, very lengthy. They gave everybody 3 months to submit, and typically a lot of communities don't have the time or can't complete a full package. And they did not get, they get some application, and a lot of them, including the city submitted one, city as in Board of Education, submitted one application to the state that was rejected. So this year they have money left, and also I believe they added more money to it. And so the issue this year is the second round. The grant application came out in September, early September, and the due date is end of this month. We, the city of Norwalk, recognize that this project, this grant application availability is coming up this year. We actually started in May. The reason being is that there's fundamental, I think, 3 or 4 requirements. The first one is that the city needs to have a design, a conceptual design. And then thereafter, we need a professional cost estimate. And then we need an education spec. And also the city need to allocate the city share, which is as 40% of the project costs. Traditionally, the city's reimbursement rate is 33%, 33% for renovation projects. For new construction, it's 10% less, it's like 22%, somewhere around that area. But about a year ago, the state passed a special legislation that changed the city's reimbursement to 60%. So, which is a substantially higher than what we've been getting for the last, I don't know how many years, 40, 50 years, whatever it may be, kind of thing. So it's a substantial increase that we really do want to take advantage of. In response to this, this grant application, what we did was that back in May, we issued RFP for mechanical engineer to provide design services, and then we hired a design engineer. We went out. Then thereafter, we did a professional cost estimate, and we came up with a dollar amount for 6 projects. Each project is a separate application to the state, so we don't submit all 6 of them and prioritize them. These are all independent projects, so the state can pick certain one they want to financially support and not others. So we've gone through there's 2 paths we're doing. One is that we just went through Land Use and Building Management Committee of Common Council last night to authorize the city/Board of Ed to submit application to the state. Concurrently, we went through a whole special appropriation process, which I on behalf of the city, submitted a request to Henry's office and to the mayor, and thereafter the BET, and then Planning and Zoning Commission, and now we come to Finance Committee for special appropriation for the city share, which is 40%. When you add all of the 6 projects together, the total amount is about $36 million. It's substantial. I mean, I never requested a special appropriation of $14 million before, but this is the first time kind of thing. So it is a high financial responsibility on our part. I'm going to be very frank. What we're doing here, basically, we cut in line a little bit. We cut in line because typically these 6 projects, this project that Board of Ed is intended to submit the next 5 years. But we're looking at it now because there's a potential ability for us to get 60% reimbursement for these projects, whereby we may not get it. So it is kind of in front of a standard annual procedure capital budget request. But again, we're submitting 6 projects. Being very honest about it, I don't think the state is ever going to push 6 projects for us. So they're going to choose and pick which one they want to do. So tonight, what we're asking for is a special allocation appropriation for 6 projects. Each one has a separate dollar amount, so that we satisfy the grant application. It is my suggestion and recommendation to the city that the project that does not receive state support and approval, those projects, the money that we allocated would be canceled and we went back to the city, so that those projects, the one that did not get state approval, will go for a normal capital budget project and compete just like other projects that they would have all along. So this cutting in line a little bit is really because of financial reason that we got financial benefit. But we don't get grants for those projects, which is just those projects should be eliminated and get back in line and do the normal procedures. Those are my thoughts, and I think I want to stop now. I can go on for all night, that's the problem.
No, that's not necessary. But thank you for that very just clear and specific overview of these HVAC projects. You mentioned the special capital appropriation. That and the reason why it's special capital appropriation because these dollars were not allocated through the normal capital budget process. So I'd like to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Henry Dakowitz, to kind of just give the new committee members kind of maybe a short few words about the special capital appropriation process.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was introduced almost 5 years ago with meetings in Hartford with the state school construction committees, which review all of these projects. And it was there that I learned that we had to have complete submissions by June 30 for that office to review over a 6-month period, because at the end of the year, approximately December 31st, that group in state government submitted a list of approved capital projects for school construction in priority order. And so there's a tremendous lead time, as Alan explained. We have to get design specs, we have to get cost estimates. And one of the critical requirements of the state is that we want to make sure we're not looking at any projects that haven't already been approved locally for their funding component. If the local government does not authorize their piece, we're not even going to consider it on the list for that year's projects. So the way I look at these 6 projects, these are all good projects, and we're getting them at a bargain of 40 cents on the dollar. As Alan has taught me, when the state reimbursement is 40, it's really a little bit, 60%, we pay 40%. When the state says 60, it's usually a little bit less ultimately after audit and review, what they disqualify, but that's a detail. The point is, if they're putting up 60% and these are projects we're going to need in the next 3 to 5 years, let's get on the list. As Alan said, we don't expect all 6, but whatever gets approved, we should move forward to. Timing and sequence, that's when we probably have to look at all the other capital projects. We're just starting the capital budget process for fiscal year 24-25, which should end in about April, May of 24. And we also have 200 million of already approved capital projects, which we have not yet bonded for. So to me, these are projects that get added to these lists. These are good and worthy projects to be performed. So from one perspective, the special approval is just critical to even get on that list. So I would think that that is something that should go forward. As Alan said, any project that does not get on the state list for reimbursement, we will reverse the approval and put it back in the kitty. We are only looking at getting approval of city funds for those projects where the state agrees to give us 60%. The timing and sequence of these 2, 3, 4 projects versus the 200 million already approved, the new projects from this year, that's usually what happens during the regular capital budget process. And that's a wrestling match between, it's advocated by the mayor, planning and zoning gets involved, the full city council, and the Board of Estimate and Taxation. But I think this is necessary but not sufficient step of getting city approval for that match. So I am supportive of this proposal by Alan.
Thank you, Henry, for that overview of the special capital appropriation process.
You're welcome.
So with that, let me present item 4, and then we can open up for any question or discussion. So item 4 reads as follows: approve the allocation of $3 $320,918 in special capital appropriation funds for the city's 40% share of the project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Brian McMahon High School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $3,320,918 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Do we have a motion on this item?
So moved.
Councilmember Jim Freya, thank you. Do we have any questions, comments on this particular item? If you do, can you please raise your hand electronically so you can be acknowledged? Okay, if there's no questions or comments, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this motion, please acknowledge with your raise of hand, either electronically or just raise your hand, and it is unanimous. Thank you. And this item, let me read the next one. So it's appropriate that we vote on each of these items individually because they have different dollar amounts. So just want to make sure, make you aware of that. So let's move to item 5, which reads as follows: approve the allocation of $1,330,900 in special capital appropriation funds for the city's 40% share of the project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Brookside Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $1,330,900 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Lopez, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments related to this allocation? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this allocation for Brookside, show by a raise of hand, and it is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 6, approve the allocation of $1,650,085 in special capital appropriation funds of the city's 40% share of the project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Marvin's Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $1,650,085 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Do we have a motion on this allocation? Councilmember Freya, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments related to the allocation for Marvin Elementary School? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor show by a raise of hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 7. Approve the allocation of $1,210,206 in special capital appropriation funds. Looks like we missed the word "for" in that resolution. We should add the word "for." Funds for the city's 40% share of the project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Silvermine Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $1,210,206 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Do we have a motion on this allocation for Silvermine Elementary School? Councilmember Lopez, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this motion, show by a raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 8, approve the allocation of $4,263,447 in special capital appropriation funds for the city's 40% share of the project cost in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Rowayton Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This capital appropriation shall be funded through $4,263,447 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Do we have a motion on this item for Rowayton Elementary? Councilmember Dunn, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments related to this item? Okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor, show by a sign of raising your hand, and is unanimous. Thank you. And finally, item 9, approve the allocation of $2,584,750 in special capital appropriation funds for the city's 40% share of the project cost in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Narragansett Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $2,584,750 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Do we have a motion on this item for Narragansett Elementary? Councilmember Sutton, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments related to the allocation for Narragansett? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this allocation show by a raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. Each of these 6 items will move to the next council meeting on Tuesday, December 12th for full council review and approval. And then we can proceed with the application process from that point. Alan Lowe, yes.
Yes, first of all, thank you for the committee's special meeting, and also, moving this forward to the council. Just want to let everybody knows that concurrently, last night, land use and building management, as just some of you member knows that was on the committee, that there's going to be item on the Commons Council the same night, which talks about approval and authorization for the Board of Education to apply for the grants. So with these six action on finance committee, there's also 18 action that went to land use that will be appealed on agenda. So don't get confused. That's really like administratively that we need to do to apply for the grant. And this is the financial aspect. That's what you look at. So again, there will be 2 sections of relating to this grant application that appear 2 portions of the council agenda. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for that update, Alan. Appreciate it. Okay, there's no other business of the special meeting. So do we have a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Murray, thank you. All those in favor, show by a raise of hand. Thank you very much. We stand adjourned. Appreciate you taking the time to attend the special meeting, especially at 6 o'clock, earlier than normal. Our normal finance meetings start at 7 o'clock. So thank you. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see everyone at the council meeting on Tuesday, December 12th. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.